All righty. So, thank you for being here. If you're catching this via recording, this is January 3rd, 2026. It's our Happy New Year class, and you are catching a recording that was recorded live with, I don't know, about 140 people from around the world that are here currently, which just still blows my mind and opens my heart tremendously. And I am so, so glad. I'm still getting caught by that sun. I'll slide over here. I'm so glad to be here with you. So, I want to share our theme for today, and then we're going to dive into class. We're going to get onto the mat. It is helpful to have two blocks with you. Those are the only props. If you like a pillow for a knee down lunge, that is also nice to have. I'm always in favor of comfort, listening to your body, honoring what's right for you, engage with what I offer, skip what I offer that doesn't feel right, all of those beautiful choices that are available to you at any point. It's one of the beautiful aspects about practicing this in our own time and space and in our own homes. So, this class is an invitation to enhance joy, to focus on connection, inspiration, and resilience. And resilience is ultimately about adapting well in the face of challenge. And boy, we have kind of an unlimited opportunity to practice facing challenge in this complex world that we live in. And it's pretty much out there every day. Open up the news or look even in our local communities or in our personal lives. And there's a lot that we are collectively and personally navigating. So my work, which I call resilience-informed therapy, is very much about how do we navigate that skillfully. Not that it stops hardships from happening, that's impossible, but how do we build the skills and the trust in ourselves that we can cope with that? One of the reasons why I personally love yoga and love this physical and emotional and spiritual practice is that it really enhances our access to those tools, whether that's the physical capacity to move through small bits of chosen challenge on the mat, balancing and an elevated heart rate and coming back into recovery and moving and coordination and breath and all of that. But also we get to work with the kind of mental fitness of our minds, right? We get to tap into how are we thinking about challenges and kind of building what we'll call kind of mental flexibility, the ability to not get stuck in thoughts that aren't most beneficial for our overall well-being. So we're going to really work with this full mind-body practice on the mat, and hopefully that's what also supports us to take this practice off of the mat. I am grabbing a card from the post-traumatic growth deck. That is the card deck that I created that accompanies the post-traumatic growth guidebook. And the card that I chose for today is called Foster Your Resilience. Here, a beautiful sunset. And for those of you that, yeah, full moon today, right? Yeah, thanks, Anna, for naming that. For those of you that don't know my love of photography or my love of sunsets, well, here you go. This is kind of, if I'm going to do one thing with my free time, it's probably going to be stepping outside, walking on a trail, walking near our local community, beautiful spots, and watching either a full moon rise or a gorgeous sunrise or a gorgeous sunset. And one of the things that I was reflecting on yesterday in my evening walk and watching the moon rise and the sunset was how there's a certain amount of predictability that comes with these kinds of routines, and that predictability, even in itself, is a kind of investment in our resilience accounts, right? Like there's a way in which trauma comes in, it's unexpected, and especially if you've been through childhood trauma, it's an ongoing set of unexpected experiences that leave us in states of vigilance. So when we create routines, whether that's on your yoga mat or whether that's in your daily practices, meditation or a sunset walk, we create these kind of predictabilities for our nervous systems, for our bodies, our minds, and that in itself begins to create a little bit more of a sense of safety. And the ground of safety, or this process of building resilience, is not just about staying in those predictable rhythms and routines. It's about trusting our ability to step outside of routine, to do something new or unexpected. So in these last 3 weeks or so, I've been playing in some new spaces. I experimented with cross-country skiing, which I am personally very uncoordinated with, and snowshoeing and roller skating. Yes, I roller skated. and, um, and a lot of mountain climbing and climbing in places that were snowy with crampons or spikes on my feet and so forth. And I guess what these different movements all reminded me of is the kind of the the value of doing something just enough outside of our routine. I found muscles I didn't even knew I had, right? Like I was like, oh wow, inner thighs, gotcha. We need to work those a little more. But nonetheless, I think that it's also deeply valuable to gain comfort with ourselves in doing what we'll call kind of living variously, introducing variety in once we have enough of a ground of safety. So that's what we're going to play with in what a friend of mine, Michael Allison, also in the polyvagal world, he calls this the play zone. And the play zone allows us to kind of bring in enough of that sense of safety and predictability to do something that feels a little awkward or a little bit new. So we'll join together today in the play zone on the mat. I will also share with you a reading from the post-traumatic growth deck on this Foster Your Resilience card, and then a short poem for today. So the reading from the booklet that accompanies the deck goes like this. Resilience allows you to flexibly adapt to traumatic life events. Resilience is not a trait that you either have or do not have. You build resilience by cultivating beliefs and behaviors that support your physical, mental, emotional, social, and spiritual well-being. Day by day, each small positive action accumulates to strengthen your spirit. You will grow and gain wisdom from your willingness to work through darkness and despair until you find a sense of hope and light. What would you like to believe about yourself? No matter how small, what actions can you take to foster your well-being today? The poem that I have chosen for today is called The Great Affair, and it's by Diane Ackerman. And if you are not familiar with the work of Diane Ackerman, I highly recommend. She has many books and many inspirational words. The words that I have chosen go like this. The great affair, the love affair with life, is to live as variously as possible, to groom one's curiosity like a high-spirited thoroughbred, climb aboard and gallop over the thick, sun-struck hills every day. It began in mystery, and it will end in mystery. But what a savage and beautiful country lies in between. All right. So with that, let's go ahead and meet the mystery on the mat. Um, yeah, let's do that. Hmm. So come on in, find a comfortable seat to get started for today. I'm going to offer up that as you arrive on your mat, that you tune in to what you would like out of, great, out of your time here today. Is there a word or a short phrase that you would like to bring with you into this practice? Something that anchors you in that sense of safety or predictability, but also perhaps helps you embrace the unknown, the mystery. I will offer up some words that you might choose to practice with as well. I can adapt and change. I am flexible in mind and body. And I am courageous and willing to engage with the great mystery of life. So, as you find your chosen words, your chosen intention for today, we're going to go ahead and begin in child's pose. So, come on around and find a, a shape of your body that feels right for you. Now, when we embrace child's pose, it may or may not feel immediately accessible or comfortable. And so you might want to have a bolster or a blanket between your hips and your heels, or maybe in front of your torso, or in some way or another, find your way into a bit of a forward fold, a bit of a contraction in this shape, if you think about it. Knees folded in towards your chest, folding hips toward heels, letting your forehead rest on something, and tuning inward. Perhaps the familiarity of this more contracted and inward shape gives you that sense of ground, an anchor into the familiar, into the comfort of your own body, and into the predictability of your breath. Perhaps sensing the rhythmic quality of your breath here, deepening and slowing down the breath. Sensing how this can move through your back body, through your hips. Feeling the subtle movement of your rib cage. And sensing the breath coming in and out of your nose. You might add a texture to your breath, an ujjayi pranayama, a slight constriction in the whisper muscles at the back of the throat, allowing you to elongate your breath, even giving an audible quality, waking up the inner ear. And our first set of movements are an invitation to walk your child's pose to the side. So I'll walk off to the right here. You can start on either side. We're doing both. Walking hands to the right, hips can shift a little bit to the left, and breathing into your left side body. Finding a little bit of a morning stretch here, or for some of you, it's afternoon or early evening. And finding your way into just the right amount of stretch. In the intercostals between your ribs, under your armpit. And then walking your hands through center and off to the other side. As your hands reach to the left, sinking your right hip just a little bit further towards your heel. Breathing into the right side of your body. And those long rhythmic breaths, textured breaths. And then bringing your hands right back to center. As you arrive here, coming up into a tabletop. A few breaths here to explore cat and cow, moving your spine, allowing your breath to continue to be your guide, supporting your movements. Maybe some cat cows here, inhaling as you lift head, tail. Exhale as you arch through your spine. And again, really finding that length of your body. As you curl in, draw navel to spine. Send all the breath out. One more like that. And coming into a neutral tabletop, we'll find a twist from here. Invitation is to take your right arm up and to the side. You might pause for a moment, rotating right hand around your wrist in one direction and the other. And then sweeping your right arm underneath your body. Right arm threads through, threading the needle. You can keep your left fingertips on the ground, or you can wrap your arm back and behind. You can reach your arm long, whatever serves you here. You might even choose to extend your left leg. Right? You can be super playful and experimenting in these shapes. They're simply a home base for your body to find itself, for you to find yourself again. And then slowly recentering, coming back up and through. You might reach your right arm one more time. And then back down to the mat. We'll switch sides. This time it's left arm that lifts, maybe a circle of your wrist. And then threading your arm through underneath, resting the side of your head to the earth. And then your choice, how you want to make this yours. Slowly returning back through to center, up through tabletop once again. Now, from this tabletop, I'm going to invite you, just delayering for a second, I'm going to invite you to find a puppy dog stretch. In our puppy dog stretch, your knees can come back or your hands can walk forward. And then keeping hips stacked above your knees, begin to lower down through your heart, through your chin, through your forehead. You might stay right here with palms on the earth, or you might lift up, cupping your palms, letting your fingertips reach down into the earth, and then breathing into the space that you are creating around your heart, the backside of your heart, your throat, your armpits. A few breaths here. And then I'm going to invite you to slither yourself forward. coming all the way down onto your belly and letting your forearms be a support system for you here. So we'll come into Sphinx. And it's an early Sphinx, and if it creates any discomfort in your low back, a nice way to work with that is to press downward into your knees and shins. Lift your hips a little bit, tuck your tail long, engage through the abdominal muscles, and then resettle your hips and belly to the earth as you begin to lengthen your heart forward. And you can repeat that action of engaging the abdomen, lengthening the low back, and settling your hips as much as you need to. Once you feel comfortable enough in this shape, you can draw your elbows back and heart forward. Even imagine that you're drawing your ears straight back, like the back of your head is going to kind of reach its way towards your heels. Finding another breath or two here. And then widening through your elbows to lower down, reset your palms, and press back once again into child's pose. A brief revisit to this shape before returning back to tabletop. This time in tabletop, I'm going to invite you to take a block and to place it between your inner thighs. So we're going to give a squeeze. Remember, I was sharing about my rediscovery of the of the inner thigh muscles through my cross-country skiing. Well, it's kind of inspired me to engage them a little bit more on my yoga mat. So go ahead and find a squeeze. If you don't have a yoga block, a firm pillow will work, or even a thick book. So finding something that you can just kind of give a little bit of that anchoring towards midline with the inner thigh connection here to something. And as you find that action, just notice how that might create a shift in lower back or spine or even abdominal muscles. The inner thigh muscles connect deeply to the lowest core. Now we'll add on here an invitation to tuck your toes under and to lift your knees off the mat. Continue to squeeze your block or your pillow. Just a few breaths here. Feeling a little bit of that chosen challenge right away, right? Maybe a little elevation to heart rate. And then go ahead and set your knees back down. Continue to hold the block. Maybe find a little bit of movement here in a cow or a cat. And we'll find one more variation in this shape, which is to keep the tops of the feet down, but for just a moment, lift your knees, squeeze the block. Ooh la la. That one adds some challenge pretty quickly. Give it a squeeze and let's lower down. Remove the block. If you need to tap out your feet on that one, go ahead. From here, I'm going to invite you to take your left leg back. Give a few calf pulses here. And then from this shape, I'm going to invite you to cross your left leg back and around behind your right foot, and then take a little bit of a side body lean to the right to take a gaze at your left toes. So gazing across your right shoulder. Feel once again a contraction in one side of your body and expansion in the other. And then we'll unwind, take your left leg all the way around now to the left. Catch that little bit of sunlight there. And then as you come into this bit of a water bug shape, I just turned on my mat so you can see the shape, allowing yourself to once again let that be a home base for your exploratory movement. You might sit back a little bit, come forward, lean down. You might keep the left toes rooted or lift them up. Let it be fun and playful. And then eventually meeting back in a tabletop. We'll find that on side two. Sending your right foot back, right leg nice and long, a few pulses on the calf. And then as you lift your leg, crossing over, and we'll find that side body lean to the left, taking your gaze back towards your right toes. Sometimes I feel like this is a little bit of that game of Twister, but let it be fun, right? Let it be in the play zone. And then this time, it's the right leg comes around to the side and off your mat to the right. And we find that little bit of a uneven shape, exploratory movement. You can stay lifted. You might lean back towards your left heel. Right toes might lift. You might lower through your upper body. And another place just to get to know the inner line of the fascia and the inside of your leg, all the way down from inner foot to inner groin. And then when you feel even, come on back around into your tabletop once again. Now, this time from tabletop, I'm going to invite you to sit back over your feet, come on all the way around, and into a wide-legged seat here. For a moment, I'm going to invite you to place your hands down and press into hands and feet, lifting into a reverse tabletop. This reverse tabletop allows you to lift through your hips, to tuck your chin, to draw your shoulder blades towards each other, or maybe to lift your chin up, or you might rest the back of your head on your shoulders so long as that doesn't create strain in your neck. Remember, come back to breath. Maybe you feel the engagement of the back line of your body, your glutes, and then let that go. So little chosen challenges with moments for some recovery. So go ahead and take a nice exhale here. Beautiful. And then I'm going to invite you to play with this wide seated stance of your legs and to drop your knees from one side to the other. So we're basically in this action, allowing yourself to shift from a deer shape on one side to that deer shape on the other. And you might keep one hand or both hands on the mat. You might experiment with reaching one arm up overhead at a diagonal, really pausing at any place where, ooh, that feels so good, or wow, that's a stretch that I really need. Follow and listen. And some of you know what's coming. The next invitation is to play with that same movement without your hands at all. So we call this the look ma, no hands move. And you can allow the core to begin to come online as you shift knees from side to side, lean back, come back to sitting. And finding your way through that play zone as you navigate through these shapes. Beautiful. All right, we're going to come back through to center when you feel ready, and an invitation to bring a block with you. We're not going to use it quite yet, but bring a block with you so that you have it available as you come down onto your mat. The first shape that we'll experiment with here is to come in and out of a flowing bridge, a moving bridge shape. So the invitation is to begin to experiment with pressing into your feet, lifting your hips, and rolling your spine back down to the mat. You are always at choice about the range of motion and the pace of your movement. And you might keep your arms down by your sides, or you might begin to move your arms with your hips, inhaling, lifting your arms and hips up, and exhale back down to the earth. Beautiful. One more like that. And next invitation is to keep your hands down by your sides, or keep your arms down, but press your elbows down, and your hands are going to be facing each other straight up towards the ceiling, fingertips towards the ceiling as you press the hips or the feet down and press the hips to lift up. Now, it's most beneficial to keep your head looking straight up rather than side to side. You can stay right here, just experimenting with what is it like to press into your upper arms and to lift your hips up, or you might reach your hands down and under your body, clasping your hands into a classic bridge pose, Setu Bandhasana, and allowing yourself just to find your way into this shape, a little bit of a bind through the arms, and opening up through your heart and throat. Pressing into the back of your head, letting your chin lift slightly, letting your chest chase your chin. And then slowly releasing your hands and releasing your spine back down to the earth, walking your feet out wider and letting your knees fall in. This is sometimes referred to as a constructive rest shape because the knees dropping in, the feet wide, allow for a deep restorative reset for the hip flexors and psoas muscles. It's also a place to pause and allow any settling of an elevated heart rate or respiratory rate just to come back into that predictable rhythm. Good. Slowly, when you are ready, I'll invite you to take your feet hip widths apart again. And here's where that block can come in handy. I'm going to invite you to use the block once again at the inner thighs, placing the block between the inner thighs to give it a squeeze and to feel that engagement of the lowest core. Hands can come behind your head, inhaling here, and exhale as we lift up and inhale to lower. And just finding this kind of basic core engagement, squeezing the block. Exhale and inhale. Let your head be heavy in your hands. Elbows nice and wide. And you can stay here as you are, or you might lift your feet, bringing them into more of a tabletop shape on the mat. And again, lifting and lowering. Exhale as you lift, squeezing your block. And then lowering down through your upper body, remove the block for a moment and placing your feet down. So you might watch and listen for a moment and then join in when you're ready. We're going to take the left leg lifting here and the block on top of the left thigh in whatever form. We're going to take the right elbow onto that block. And this is a perfectly valid place to stay, just in this static hold. Or you might extend your right leg long. That's also a perfectly good place to stay. Or you might lift and lower. Again, we've got this static hold, elbow, knee pressing into block, right leg in one form or another on the ground, lifted statically or moving. Good, just three more. And then we unwind, foot to earth. Go ahead and pause for a moment between sides. You can shake it, wiggle it out. And we'll find that on side two. So we start out left foot on the ground, right knee lifted, left elbow to the block. Give that a nice firm squeeze. Great place to stay. Or you might extend left leg long. Also, great place to stay. Or finding a few lifts and lowers on this side. Beautiful. When you feel even, which I think we are about there, let's go ahead and unwind once again. Whew. Find that constructive rest. Feet wide, knees drop in together. Maybe a hand on your heart, a hand on your belly. A moment to appreciate yourself. Again, courageously stepping in to challenge and unwinding from here. We're going to draw knees up, hands behind the knees, a few rocks and rolls on your spine. Rocking up and over. And once again, a brief visit to tabletop, a moment to find some free-form movement, or maybe a sip of water. Beautiful. When you feel ready, from this tabletop, I'm going to invite you to walk your hands forward just a little bit once again, and to press back into our first downward facing dog of this practice. Meeting in downward facing dog and another place to find some exploratory movement. You can bend through one knee and the other, bend both knees deeply, lifting your heels and lowering. Or settling into stillness. And then from here, the invitation is to take your right leg back up and behind. And we'll take a little bit of time here with that right leg lifted. You might, with a straight long leg, rotate through your right ankle, foot around the ankle in one direction and the other. You might begin to bend through the knee and find some big, wide hip circles here. You might open one hip stacking above the other, lengthening through your leg. So again, just some kind of home base for exploratory movement. And then eventually gazing forward, drawing on that strong core to step your right foot forward and through. And here's a place where those blocks can really come in handy. One block under each hand and maybe lifting and lowering through your legs, getting to know your lunge on this first practice of January 2026. How's your body doing today? You might reach around, find a little bit of deep lunge or a quadricep stretch. You might come into a variation of pyramid. And I'll share one of my favorite variations from this home base. So finding a grounded left heel, and again, nice strong bent knee in the right leg. And then begin to walk your hands off to the left side of your mat. And it's like we've got a downward facing dog in the upper body and a warrior two base in the legs. We'll call this ostrich, and let your head be heavy. Let some tension release from your shoulders. Maybe let your voice go. A sigh, a sound is always welcome. And then slowly walking yourself back towards center, greeting your right foot once again, framing, placing your hands down, and stepping right foot back to meet your left. Taking a moment here in downward dog to notice left and right sides. What's present for you here? And then we'll find side two, taking your left leg back. Maybe starting here with a long leg, you can find those rotations, foot around your ankle, one direction and the other. And then perhaps finding some big, wide circles around your hip. So very often, if you've taken my classes for a while, you know that we like to do these joint rotations, and we're doing them here today, just in a different format, not from seated. So a little upside down rotation of the joints. Good. You might reach, stacking your hips, let your left leg go long, filling out how your body makes this shape yours, and then coming around and forward, drawing your knee in, engage your core, and coming all the way forward, the lunge. And then once again, you're off to explore. Lifting and lowering, knee lifted or knee on the ground. Letting your breath and your sensations be your guide. Beautiful. And then from here, we'll find that variation of ostrich, this funky shape with the warrior two legs. So grounding into your right heel, keeping that nice bent in your left knee, and then walking your hands off the mat, this time to the right side of the mat, and then letting your upper body come down and be long, kind of like a downward facing dog in the upper body, your arms. Let your head be heavy. You can scrunch up your face or stick out your tongue. Ah. And then slowly walking your hands back to center, grounding your hands to step left foot back to meet the right. So again, feeling your way into downward facing dog. And then we'll transition from this shape with a nice sauntering walk forward. Take your time to come into a forward fold. Now, this first forward fold will find a bit of a ragdoll shape. So bending nice and deeply into your knees so that you can just let your upper body hang. You might keep your hands on the earth. You might take pinkies to elbow creases. You might stay still, or you might find a little sway side to side. Another chance to soften through shoulders, crown of head, jaw, voice. And then we'll have a second variation of our fold. And this time we're going to once again use a block. So placing that block between the inner thighs, you're going to get a theme here today, and give that a nice firm squeeze. Now with the block engaged here and the inner thigh squeezing towards the block, I'm going to invite you to find a long spine. Now you can use your hands on your thighs or your shins to help support that long spine. Give that block a squeeze. You might even feel a little bit of a tremor or a shake. Let that happen, okay? And you might experiment with really engaging the core, drawing your navel to your spine and sending your arms back and behind, kind of paralleling your body. So long spine, core engaged, inner thighs squeezing the block. You'll very likely start to feel a little uptick in your heart rate. Good thing here, right? Play zone. You might stay right here. You might shift your weight just a little bit more towards your heels. You might even fulcrum the movement by taking your arms forward, squeeze the block, added challenge, and then pressing down into your feet, pressing inward towards the block, to come all the way up to standing. La la la. And here we are, block supported mountain. And a moment just to keep that block there, to feel that long spine, and to allow your breath and your heart rate to come into a little bit of an active recovery phase. Well done. Now we're going to use our block for this next movement as well, which is to give that block a squeeze, to draw your arms up overhead. So now we've got a extended mountain, Tadasana. Feel that grounding, that rooting inner thigh line down to the inner arches of your feet. And then perhaps into a side stretch. Now you might take one hand to your hip or down by your leg. As you reach to one side, you can gaze down, forward, or up. That's up to you. Continue to engage the block with the legs and the lower belly. And then go ahead, we'll come up through center and find that on side two. Your variation, wherever you'd like your gaze, squeeze the block, draw the belly in. Coming up through center, we're going to do a second round of those side bends, this time with an option to take your, I'm going to go ahead and give us a side here. I'm going to go ahead and take my left arm up and bend it, my right arm taking a hold of my left elbow. And it's not as far of a deep side bend, but what I'd like you to explore is, again, give that lower body tone of the squeeze of the block, the abdomen, and then it's like you're going to lift your elbow just slightly further towards the ceiling and back, lifting that left elbow, I should say. Give that an opening through the armpit, the side body, and then back up through center. We'll switch it out. Bending the right arm, taking left hand around right elbow. We're going to squeeze the block, engage lower belly, come down to the side, and then it's an upping, a lifting up of the right elbow and a slight turn back. Find your breath here. And up and out. Let that go. Shake out your arms and throw the block or just put it down. Let the block go. Shake out your legs. Beautiful. All right. We let the block go, but we're going to use it for this next one. So block is going to come down onto the mat, and there's an invitation, and you can choose to accept or decline. That's up to you. An invitation to come standing on that block. I'm just moving it back so I stay in the camera frame here, but basically standing with one foot on the block. So it immediately brings in balance. And you can, of course, depending on the height of your block, always dip your toe down. So you can have a toe stand in this balance, or you can take the foot fully off of the floor. Great. All right. And then from here, we're going to do a little balance play, which is an invitation to take your right arm up at a diagonal and your left leg away at a diagonal. Maybe your left arm lifts as well. Just play in that diagonal space. And then back to center. And we'll play again. Reach, extend. This time, when we come back to center, I'm going to invite you to add a challenge, taking elbow and knee towards each other. Right elbow, left knee. Okay, one more like that. Reach, extend. If you fall, the ground's not that far, and you can, of course, do this on the ground. Wobbling is welcome. Come on back in. And we're doing it. We're living variously. Come on down. The unexpected movements today. Shake that leg out, that standing leg in particular. Wiggle it out through your body, anything that gathered unexpected tension. Well done. Good. We'll find side two. So just get used to, what does it feel like to be on the block? And maybe those toes are on the ground. Maybe your foot is lifted. Just playing in that space. Getting to know what balance feels like on this leg. It might be quite different. And then we'll add in part 1, which is begin to experiment with the reach of your arm and leg. Just getting to know that, how that feels. Maybe your gaze, maybe your right arm lifts as well. And then come back to center, wobble, wobble if you will. And then we're going to add on. We're going to reach, extend. And we're going to cross midline, knee and elbow. Ooh. Good. Find that reach, extend. And cross. I don't remember how many we did on the other side, so we'll do one more here. Go ahead, reach, extend. And come on in. And well done, let that go. Shake it out, wiggle. All right. And I have one more, not using our block for this one, but one more balance play for right now. So we're going to come into the balance play of palm tree. And what I'm going to recommend is that you go ahead and take your feet together for this one so that you can lift your heels off the mat. And so if you would prefer to do this hip widths, you can also do that. One of the reasons I like the feet together is that it does give a little bit more stability for me with that midline squeeze. One way or another, let your hands be by your sides and your heels off the mat. We'll call this palm tree. And just like palm trees wave around in the wind, right? You might wave around or wiggle around here. And this might be plenty. Or added challenge, find a single point for your eyes to land on for a moment. Just notice how that feels. Maybe close just your right eye. So you're just using your left eye, single point, okay? 2 eyes, open your eyes. If you need to rest your heels down, rest your heels down. We're gonna switch it out. Just closing your left eye, finding that point to gaze upon. Just using right eye, left eye is closed, if I said that correctly. All right, and then open both eyes. Let your heels relax for a second, shake it out. One more if you so choose, totally up to you. Coming into palm tree, lifting your heels, finding a point for your gaze, hold it in your mind's eye, and close both eyes. Yes, you are standing on your toes with both eyes closed, and if you need to open them to fall out, go ahead. You might do it for one more moment here. Let it be fun. All right, let it go. It's over. Shake that one out too. Good. I really look forward to when we get to practice in person together, because doing that one in the room together or in the riverbed in South Africa or wherever we practice together is a lot of fun. So hopefully we'll get a chance to practice in person somewhere soon. All right, let's go ahead and do some familiar movements once again. Come on over to facing the short end of your mat. And I'm going to invite you to draw your arms up, familiar mountain. Inhale. Exhale, I'm going to invite you to take your hands down and wrap them behind your body, clasping your hands. Feet can be nice and wide for this one. As you draw your knuckles down, lift through your heart. Yogi Mudra. On an exhale, coming into a forward fold, bending your knees as much as you need, drawing your connected hands up overhead. And slowly, by way of your sacrum, releasing your hands down to the earth, finding a halfway lift of your spine. And exhale, planting your hands, stepping back for our first one here. I'll invite you to drop knees, chest, chin, pause there for a moment. Hips are lifted. And exhale, slither to the earth. Hands beneath your shoulders, finding some rolling cobras here. Inhale. You get to choose how much weight in your hands, how much lift of your heart. Moving with your breath. Inhales to lift. Exhales to lower. One more like that. Pressing back briefly towards child's pose. And when you're ready, downward facing dog. Now, not our first time in this shape, so you might notice that you can settle in a little bit more. There might be some appreciation of the solid ground, 4 points of contact with the earth. And then when you're ready, taking your gaze forward and making your way to the front of the mat. You might hop, you might step, however you'd like to get there. Finding an inhalation, lengthen your spine. And exhale to fold. Inhale, coming all the way up to standing. I am courageous and willing to engage in the great mystery of life. Inhale, sweeping your arms up, this time for a back bend opening through your elbows and a little goalpost of your arms lift through your heart. And then coming up and over, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, this time planting your hands, stepping back, and either coming to the earth for cobra or exhale halfway down and inhale up over your toes, tops of feet on the earth, upward facing dog. Inhale and exhale, downward facing dog. This is a recovery shape. If you need more support for that recovery, child's pose is always there for you. We'll do one more round of sun salutation A, gazing forward your way to the top of the mat. Maybe you pounce. Finding a halfway lift, lengthen your spine. Exhale, fold. Inhale all the way up to standing. Exhale, lifting your heart. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, and exhale your way to downward facing dog. You can always step straight there. And downward dog is where we meet. Then slowly, when you're ready, making your way to the front again, however you'd like to get there. Inhale halfway. Exhale full. And inhale all the way to standing. Exhale samastitihi, palm to palm in front of your heart. And this shape, a prayer for equal standing, equanimity. 2 feet on the earth, eyes opened or closed, and sensing. What does it feel like to be you here and now, courageous and willing to engage with the great mystery of life? All right, I invite you to release your hands. We have one more little balance play here, and this one is going to use tree pose as its base, and we're going to add on from there. So I'll invite you to find your left leg and let that be your nice firm standing leg. And you can start to take a little bit of the weight out of your right foot. Now you can always kickstand. You can keep your right toes on the ground in one form or another, Or you might take right foot to the inside of shin or of your inner thigh. Now, especially if if the foot's up against the inner thigh, I want you to really press in both directions so that once again, your standing leg, that inner line of your leg, is engaged as you're pressing leg into foot, foot into leg. And then inhale, arms can lift up overhead. This time I'm going to invite you to bend through your left elbow and right hand on top of your left elbow. And then we'll find a little bit of that lean. So you're pressing foot into inner thigh, engaging the inner line of your leg as you lean a little bit towards the right. And again, that left elbow can lift up. Remember to breathe. And then come on out. Come on out as you're ready. 2 feet on the earth. One more shake out of your standing leg. Beautiful. And then 2 feet on the ground. Maybe once again, that feeling of midline as you press palm into palm. Coming back to your breath. So play zone is very much about that kind of not too much, not too little, right? If we don't have enough challenge, maybe we don't feel enough of that inspiration or enough of that charge. And if we have too much, we go into stress. So we're looking for something kind of that middle zone. Let's go ahead and take this into side 2. So right leg, nice firm standing. You can always use a kickstand, right? You can do that same side bend with the kickstand, or taking yourself into tree and giving that firm press. Leg into foot, foot into leg, arms up overhead. This time it's right arm that bends, left hand taking right elbow, and then either staying here or beginning to find that side body lean. Right elbow begins to lift just a little bit more. Okay to wobble. And then when you feel even, whew, come on out. Let it go. Shake it out. Wiggle your hips. And pause. Pause yet again. In my studies of the applied polyvagal theory in yoga and in writing that book, I write a lot about vagal efficiency, that what we're building is this ability to basically tolerate little bits of stress or sometimes bigger amounts of stress and come back into recovery. And yoga gives us these opportunities to strengthen that, right? We choose a challenge, we meet it, we come back into recovery. And even if some of the challenges I'm offering in this class are a little bit too far out of that comfort zone for you today or not in the play zone, it's something we can build over time so you can come back to this class and watch that evolution in yourself. Let's go ahead and come back around to the front of the mat. All right. So we have a little bit of a dynamic breath and movement right here. I'm going to invite you to come into chair pose, our first official chair pose of this class. And invitation to inhale your arms up and exhale as they come back. And so we'll go with a dynamic movement. Exhaling through your mouth, maybe a sound. One more. Inhale all the way up through mountain. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, release. Plant your hands and your way to downward facing dog. Good. From downward facing dog, invitation to take your right leg up, back, and behind, and exhale forward and through. this time grounding into your left heel. And we'll make our way up into Warrior One. Now, Warrior One is typically a squaring of your hips towards the short end of the mat. And if that's a bit challenging, it's really lovely to open and close and just kind of floss the hips here a little bit. You can come in and out of that right knee bend. And then eventually working towards squaring. There's nothing to perfect. We honor where the hips say that's my limit. And then we allow rib cage and heart to continue the twist. Inhale, sweeping your arms to the side, around and up. Maybe your gaze follows towards your hands, your thumbs. Finding your breath here. And exhale, releasing your hands, interlacing at the base of your spine here, drawing your connected hands down. Inhale to lift your heart. And exhale, forward, fold, humble warrior. Letting your head be heavy. A sigh, a sound. Opening up through shoulders, heart, backside of your heart. And slowly, by way of your hips, releasing hands down to the earth and walking yourself around to the left, turning your right foot so that we come into a prasarita, or a wide-legged forward fold. And then from here, I'm going to invite you to continue to lean towards the left, bending into your left knee. Now, you might stay high up in a kind of vertical lunge here, or more lifted, or you might take your hands down to the earth. You might even let your left heel lift and come down into a surfer lunge, a skandasana shape. And from this shape, it can be nice to lift and lower through your toes. It can sometimes be nice to come into a little bit more of a tucked forward fold. And you might even take your right toes down towards the front and then back up. Once again, another opportunity to greet that inner line of your right leg. And then coming up through that wide-legged forward fold, walking around to the front of your mat, planting your hands and stepping right foot back to meet the left. Catching your breath, downward dog being a little bit of the rest between sides. And if you need a brief child's pose, going there. And we'll find our way into side two. Inhale, sweeping your left leg up, forward and through. Exhale, grounding your right heel. And then hands to hips as we lift up on this side. And another chance just to floss the hips, opening and closing, working our way towards Warrior One. You might widen your feet, shorten your stance just a little. Feel out how your body gives you feedback about just the right foundation for this shape. Once you feel that your hips have greeted their maximum twist forward, let the rest of the twist happen in rib cage, heart, sweeping your arms to the side, up, around. Maybe you bring your gaze up to meet your thumbs. Finding your breath, grounding into the outer edge of your right foot. Slowly exhale, releasing your hands behind your body, interlacing by your sacrum, drawing your connected hands downward as you lift your heart. And exhale, forward fold. Slowly, by way of your sacrum, releasing your hands down to the earth. This time we walk around to the right, turning left toes forward, and then continuing in that right direction. Now, either a high lateral lunge or sinking your hips down a little further, hips towards right heel. You might lift your right heel here, and then you can flex and point through your left foot. You might stay lifted in upper body or fold inward. And then when you feel complete on this side, walking yourself back around forward to the front of your mat as left foot steps back to meet the right. All right, we made it through the big challenge. Let's go ahead and find our way into half pigeon. I'll invite you to draw your right leg back and behind and exhale forward and through, and finding your way into a supportive shape. Now, it can sometimes be nice to place a block underneath your right hip, especially if you find that your hips get very uneven in this shape. And in one way or another, either staying lifted or coming into a resting pigeon. If you are coming forward, is there a way that you can rest your forehead onto something? Your stacked hands, a block, a bolster, a pillow, or the mat? And from here, taking several deep breaths. This is a beautiful opportunity to come back inward and reflect your word, your phrase, your intention for what brought you here today. And what does it mean for you to foster your resilience? Very slowly walking yourself up from this forward fold, and we're going to lean into right hip as you draw your left leg around, catching that sunlight again, and coming into a seated one-legged forward fold at Janu Shirsasana. And so you might take that right foot to the inside of your left leg. It's just like we did in tree pose. You can even give the two a little bit of a press toward each other as you begin to walk yourself down towards your right leg, your right foot, and honoring whether you want to work here with a long spine, staying more upright, or whether it feels right to curl forward into that forward bend. There's no better, worse, right, or wrong. Let your sensations be your guide. Slowly lifting up on this side. And from here, I'm going to invite you to find a seated twist toward the bent right leg. So left hand coming on top of your right knee, working here with a nice long spine. You can even take your right hand behind you like a second spine, just feeling that open twist. And you might stay right here, or you might lean a little bit here to the left. You can kind of continue to hold left hand to right knee, and then just reaching your right arm straight up towards the ceiling or the sky. Maybe your gaze lifts up as well. You might reach a little bit overhead. We're not trying to reach a goal. We're not trying to get that hand to foot. Just finding that nice opening through a twist and a side body stretch. And then up and out. Planting your hands your way back to downward facing dog. And we'll find all of that on side two. This time lifting through your left leg and left knee comes forward and through. Now for our pigeon poses, if that's not supportive in your body, you can always come to your back for a supine figure four. So really listening and honoring. You might stay lifted for a moment. You might use that block underneath your left hip. And you might lower down into a resting pigeon. Let your shoulders relax. Let your forehead relax onto something. Let your breath go. Beautiful. Slowly, slowly pressing back up. This time shifting your weight to your left hip as right leg comes around and forward, setting up for Janu Shirsasana on the side. And maybe a long spine, maybe leaning forward, honoring where that long spine takes you, or perhaps finding some rounding, listening to what feels right for your lower back in particular. And then deepening with breath. And these forward folds, an opportunity for inward reflection, presencing yourself, folding your own life force energy onto yourself, into yourself. Slowly, gently walking yourself back up from this lifted stance, finding that twist, right hand to left knee. You might work just right here, just staying with this upright twist, using your left arm as a second spine. Or you might take this into a little bit of a twisted side body lean, using that hand and knee connection, support and traction. Maybe left arm comes up overhead, maybe your gaze follows. Maybe a little reach to the side. And then lifting up and out. Unwind. This time, both legs out in front. Maybe a layer on for warmth. And I'll invite you to make your way onto your back. As you arrive on your back, another opportunity to draw your knees in close. Little contraction, a supine child's pose. Maybe you lift your shoulders, tuck your nose, curl everything into a tight ball before exhaling and letting everything go, extending your legs long, your arms by your sides. Softening and receiving the support of the earth, holding you. And simply allowing yourself to be held, letting your breath move naturally, smoothly. Nothing that you need to control or force or do. As you rest, I want to offer one more time the words of Diane Ackerman, who says, "The great affair. The love affair with life is to live as variously as possible, to groom one's curiosity like a high-spirited thoroughbred, climb aboard and gallop over the thick sun-struck hills every day. It began in mystery, and it will end in mystery. But what a savage and beautiful country lies in between." Taking your time here, savor and nourish. Let yourself really receive all the benefits of a bit of a challenging and hopefully nourishing practice as well. Gently, slowly, for those of you that are ready or would like to return back to seated before we close out our practice. Wiggling toes, fingers, rotating wrists and feet around ankles, and letting yourself rock to one side or rock on your spine. Mm-hmm. And slowly making your way back up to sitting. From the depths of my heart, I want to thank each and every one of you for being part of this community and joining me in the great affair with the great mystery. It is truly an honor to be your guide and to practice alongside each and every one of you. Namaste.